Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Energy MD podcast. So glad that you're here with me today. As you know, we're on a mission to help people with chronic fatigue, ME/CFS, and long COVID achieve the health of their dreams, get their lives back. So really excited today because we're going to be talking with my new friend, Dr. Rob Floyd, all about the standard American diet, which is really such a blight on the world, unfortunately, and such an important part of our healing journey. Because a lot of the stuff, we talk about heavy metals, chemicals, molds, and infections. You got to start with food. So let's learn a little bit about Dr. Rob. So he is a board-certified MD with extensive training in functional medicine, family medicine, emergency medicine, trauma surgery, critical care, and has worked as an integrative physician, hospitalist, and emergency medicine physician over the past 15 years, including holding multiple medical director positions for more than 7 years. Having seen firsthand the devastation and the carnage left behind by the current Western medical model, he knew he had to do something different to help his patients reclaim their wellness for good. Being an elite level athlete, he keenly understands how diet and lifestyle choices impact health and wellness. He's been an outside-the-box thinker his entire career, utilizing biohacking and integrative functional medicine modalities, both in his daily life and his practice, to help himself and his clients achieve optimal health. When not practicing medicine, Dr. Floyd enjoys traveling, riding dirt bikes, making music, skiing, and working on his ranch with his wife. He is also on the path to a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That sounds super cool. Welcome to the podcast, Rob.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much for having me. I was really excited when you reached out to me. I was like, oh, this will be great. I love what you're doing. Like we were talking before, I've looked over your website. I see what you're doing. And, I just want to thank you and give you credit for you helping all these people that you're helping too, man. So we need it sorely. So thank you.
You're a good man. So let's talk about the standard American diet, or the SAD diet. What is it?
Basically, when you go to the grocery store, it's calorie dense, nutrient deficient. It's everything in the middle aisles in the grocery stores. It's all the prepackaged foods. It's the ultra processed foods. It used to just be processed foods, but now it's ultra processed food, meaning if it comes in a bag or a box and you can't tell what it is, like, powdered cheese or whatever for your macaroni and cheese, anything that comes in these boxes and bags is really, really detrimental to our health. I actually want to start classifying ultra processed foods as environmental toxins. That's how toxic I see they are. They really, really, truly are. And it's just, we've been bamboozled and hoodwinked to think that this is what food is now. And it's not. You and I both know what food is. It's food from the garden. It's grass-fed meat. It's grass-fed butter. It's vegetables. It's, some grains here and there. It's what food looks like that we grew up eating. And unfortunately, big media, like these giant food companies, they have billions and billions of dollars trying to convince us and brainwash us that this is what food is becoming now. So
playing devil's advocate, but isn't that natural stuff just for hippies? I mean, that can't be possibly based in science, right?
No, there's plenty of science backing all of this. And there's also plenty of science backing how toxic all these ultra processed foods are. Sadly, today, 73% of the food consumed in America is ultra processed food. Ultra processed food, it has zero benefits to your microbiome. Why? Because it has no fiber. All the fiber has been taken out of it. It's full of sugar. It's full of seed oils. It's full of, again, heavy metals that they don't tell you about. It's full of high fructose corn syrup, all these things, artificial sweeteners, all these things that our body doesn't know what to do with. And when we eat them, your body's like, whoa, what is this? Real quick, I've said this to my clients and my patients for many, many years. Food is medicine. Food is information. We have 70 trillion cells in our body. When you eat something, that turns into information for every one of those cells. And if you feed garbage, those cells don't know what to do with it, and they don't run smoothly, and they don't run efficiently, and they don't run well. I mean, just look at the amount of chronic disease in America. Of course, it's multifactorial. We can't just say it's just the food, right? It's everything, like you said, mold, heavy metals, toxins, all sorts of stuff. Even our visual diet is harming us. And so again, health is multifactorial, but what I like to think is like one of the easiest levers to pull is what you put in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a good point. And oftentimes people will say, but I'm listening to my body, and my body says eat these things because they taste good. How do you answer?
Well, like I said, these large food companies, they know how to get people addicted. This is a fact that very few people know. In the 1980s, Big Tobacco, after they got their pantsuit off in court and lost billions and billions and billions of dollars, you know what they did? They went and bought the 3 biggest food manufacturers in the United States of America, and instantly, overnight, became the biggest food manufacturers in the country. And what did they do? They instituted their playbook of, let's get everybody addicted to our products. And this was the boom of ultra processed foods, because these guys have scientists. I mean, they even discuss things like what's called mouthfeel. Like when you eat a Dorito, the way it crunches in your mouth, they have figured out this is what people like the most. And this is what actually also gets people addicted. They use the addiction model that the tobacco companies did. I met a wonderful lady, named Joan Ifland. She's got a program, and she is a nutritionist, but she has an MBA from Stanford, and she really enlightened me a lot about what the big food companies did and what the big tobacco companies did with the food to get us all addicted. And like you said, people do. I'm listening to my body. My body wants more Doritos. My body wants more Frito-Lays. My body wants ice cream, right? What I've found and what I've heard from a lot of my clients, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, once they stop eating that stuff, the urge and the desire to continue eating it goes away. Don't you find that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you're talking about it as an addiction and as this addiction medicine, because you're exactly right. You used the word hoodwinked before, and it's so true. And I think that's, I really want to hammer that home for folks who are listening, is like, if you are eating things that are not coming out of the garden or falling from a tree or the way that nature intended, you are being hoodwinked. And if you want to take back your health, the best way is to take control of your diet.
100%. Absolutely. It's funny though, like I say, it's the easiest lever to pull. But I've also heard people say, I don't know where I heard this, but it's easier to change a person's religion than it is their diet.
Oh yeah.
And if you think about it, it goes all the way back to our reptilian brain, right? We want to eat what we want to eat. I have some foods that I just absolutely love, and I know they're not good for me. It's my mom's clam dip. But why do I love it so much? Because we used to eat it at all the big family parties, right? It goes back to memories of love and family and friendship for me, and good times. And so again, these food companies, they know this. They also, besides scientists, they have psychologists and psychiatrists on their payroll, figuring out how to get into people's brains to get them addicted and keep them addicted. And I honestly can't understand how, some of these, corporate leaders, I don't know how they live with themselves, how they sleep at night. I mean, I know it's on a mattress made of cash, but, they have children too, and they have grandchildren too. So how do they not see what you and I see? Because their children and grandchildren aren't eating their special diet. They're eating all the same garbage that like the majority of Americans are eating. You and I, look at us, we're both pretty healthy looking. We're skinny, we're fit, we're active, we care about our health. And this is my mission, is to get other people to understand that, you can be healthy. Being sick is not the new norm, and it should not be. Being healthy and vibrant is the normal lifestyle of America, of humans. We are all meant to be healthy and vibrant and just live an amazing life. And you can't do it when you're sick.
Right. So then what do you tell people who are like, yeah, I love that comfort food, that clam dip, that, mac and cheese, or reminds me of my mom, but like whatever it is. How do you get people through that?
Well, I used to be a lot more black and white. I've learned over the course of the last few years, actually it's over the last 54 years of, it's taken me a long time to learn this, but you have to I kind of scare straight them, make it scared straight. Remember the old scared straight? Like they take the juveniles and put them in prison. And I show them that and I tell them, I said, listen, okay, you can eat that stuff, but you're going to pay the consequences. You're going to get diabetes, and then we're going to cut off your toes. And then we're going to cut off your foot. And then we're going to cut your leg off. And then you're going to have kidney failure and go on dialysis and never be able to leave and go anywhere because you're going to be tied to a dialysis center 3 days a week. And then you're going to die a miserable, slow death. So I don't sugarcoat things because I don't believe that patients and clients deserve to have things sugarcoated, because what I've seen, I was telling you before we got on that how much tragedy I've seen in the hospitals. And this is truly, truly what has driven me to try to make a difference and an impact. And when I die, I want to look back and be like, I left a legacy of helping people. And yeah, again, it does go to the reptilian brain of, yeah, I do love that because of my memories and yada, yada, yada. It's okay to eat that every once in a while. Don't eat it every day. Don't eat McDonald's 5 times a week. Don't eat Taco Bell. Don't eat that crap ever. But, you have to treat it as like, one of my big sayings in my program is make it a habit, not to have it, right? It's okay to eat ice cream. It's okay to eat pizza. It's okay to eat a Snickers, but not all day, every day. And so I also have a behavioral analysis in my program. She's kind of one of my health coaches, and I get my clients to talk to her, and she talks the same sort of stuff, analyzes their behavior and says, well, here's how we can help you change your behavior. So I think that really helps a lot. Again, it is really hard to change, but one thing I found that when people actually get buy-in, and they actually, within about 2 weeks into my program, all of my clients come to me and be like, oh my God, I can't believe how good I feel. And we just in a couple of weeks. And then that's quickly followed by, wow, I can't believe how bad I felt, because we don't feel bad until we know what feeling good is. So.
Right. Yeah. And so how do you recommend that people make a transition from a bad diet to a good diet? Do you suggest cold turkey, or are there particular steps that you recommend?
I would say, first and foremost, try to cut out as much ultra processed food as you can. If you can do that, that's going to be the first step. Try to just go to, more whole foods, vegetables from the garden. Even if you don't have a garden, get them from the store. They're still better than, boxed foods. But people, it's like people who quit smoking, right? They either want to or they don't. And if they don't want to, what do? They don't quit smoking, right? And so I tell people, it's going to be hard. It's meant to be hard. They've made it hard for you because you're addicted to these foods. So, but the payoff is worth it. Once you start feeling better, you're going to then say, wow, I can't believe how much better I feel. And then you're going to be like, I don't ever want to go back there. I don't want to feel like that again. And then we talk about, the risks of disease, more than 50% of men in America have erectile dysfunction. It's from hormone imbalances. It's from obesity. It's from the toxic food. 60+% of Americans are overweight or obese. There's a startling statistic that I use this in a lot of my marketing, that the American College of Cardiology came out with last summer that said 93.2% of all American adults are sick. So let that sink in for a second. Statistically, the entire American adult population is sick. I mean, who's that good for? Big pharma.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say, in terms of getting really practical with folks, is the first step, not having it in the home.
Yep.
Is it switching over? And oftentimes I'll say, okay, well, switch everything to gluten-free, dairy-free, and just keep eating the way that you are, and then they start to feel better, and then it's easier to make other changes, other little practical tidbits that you like.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I get all my clients. I tell them, go into your kitchen, and throw out this, throw it out. And I know you're going to be like, why in the hell would I throw away good food? I paid for it. Right. Well, if you don't throw that away, you're going to be paying for it 100-fold later in your health. And like I do the same thing. I in my program, it's gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. And when I say sugar-free, I mean high fructose corn syrup-free, seed oil-free, and artificial sweetener-free. If we can eliminate those from your diet, your health, if you're sick, you can reverse chronic disease. And that's another thing. Like there's the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which I'm a member of, came out with a position paper last summer as well, that said the endpoint outcome for type 2 diabetes is not continued treatment with insulin. It's complete and total remission. And it's totally achievable. Yeah. And this is what I tell people as well. Like, hey, you have autoimmune disease, you have diabetes type 2, you have heart disease, you have obesity, you have high blood pressure. We can reverse all that. We can get rid of that for you 100%, have it all gone. And I mean, you're a doctor. When's the last time you heard another doctor say this to people?
Well, not a conventional one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and the thing is, I want to give people hope that you don't have to live like this. You just don't have to live like this. And we're not meant to live like this. So, but I think, like you said, the first things first is, go in and get rid of these things out of your house and make small baby steps. Again, I also like, the paleo diet, Lauren Cordain. I don't know if you do know Lauren. He's the guy who kind of invented it. He's a scientist from Chico. And his whole spiel is the 90-10 rule. Again, like I said earlier, it's okay to have it. But if you do what you're supposed to do 90% of the time, you're going to reap most of the benefits from it. Right. And it's okay to have a piece of pizza or a piece of chocolate cake or something. But, if you have it in the house, you're going to eat it. So don't buy it.
And for people who are listening, so 90% of the time, that's 9 out of 10 meals, right? And so thinking about it that way, that's like one, bad meal per week.
Yeah. Or if you break it down, it's okay. There's 7 days in a week, right? 7 times 15 is 105. So right, 1/7 is 15%. So if you want to even go 85-15, that's 1 day of the week that you can cheat, right? And when you're cheating, the only thing you're cheating is yourself. So it's better if you don't. But again, you know what? Last night I ate bread. I was out to dinner with someone with a big, with a Brendan Burchard party. And I ate some bread. It was Lebanese bread. I'm like, I'm going to try that. Okay. Did it kill me? No. One of the things that I think is really, really important, and you and I both agree on this, is how important gut health is, right? So when you have chronic gut health, it leads to chronic inflammation. When you have, it's leaky gut, intestinal permeability. Once you heal that, you can then go ahead and eat some bad things for you because your gut is healed. It's not like, you have a continuous leaky gut. I equate it to if you had a giant scab on your forearm, right? If you pick at that scab every day, it's never going to heal. And that's what's happening when you're eating the standard American diet to your gut. When you're eating gluten, artificial sweeteners, too much alcohol, you're continuing your gut health to be poor. Sorry, I thought I silenced that. I did silence that. That's weird. But if you let that big giant scab on your forearm heal to the size of a quarter and then pick it, it's going to heal a lot faster. And that's kind of what I equate to the gut health too. Once you really, truly heal your gut health once and for all, eating that gluten is not going to be as toxic for you because you're more resilient.
Yeah. And I think that, that's an important thing to bring up because so many people in our communities, well, in mine especially, a lot of the people are gluten sensitive. So they can't, if there are, big consequences if they go out and they eat some gluten. But the reality is that also if they heal their gut like you're talking about, then they're going to have an easier time when they heal their gut, that they're going to be able to tolerate more. Now, what I see in my community, people with chronic fatigue and long COVID is that oftentimes they're having a hard time healing their gut because they have heavy metals, chemicals, molds, and infections that are kind of interfering. How often do you see, when people get stuck, that it's stuck healing their gut, that it's some of these other things?
It's a lot. Again, it's multifactorial. Obviously the biggest thing, you mentioned you have a 4-step program. I have a 3-step program. It's actually a 3-step 6R program. I remove and replace, repair and rebalance, right? So you got to remove the offending agents and then you replace it with healing agents. I use this powdered drink. It's got glutamine in it, deglycerinated licorice, marshmallow, really heals the gut. But again, what you're saying too is like if you have a bad gut and you have heavy metals, you have toxins, you have dysbiosis, it's multifactorial. You have to heal it all. But the first junctions to close back up again, because if you don't, foremost, you're not absorbing efficient nutrients. At the same time, you're absorbing very, very toxic, bacteria, viruses, fungi, food particles into your bloodstream. So again, the first thing is to heal the gut. And if you do a gut health protocol, and you're not getting better, then what you're saying, yeah, you should look at other stuff. You need to look at the other, heavy metals, toxins, things like that. So
yeah. And oftentimes people come to me, I know there's going to be people listening to this who are like, I'm doing everything that he's talking about. Dr. Rob and I are totally on the same page. And then it's like, okay, well, there's these other things at play. But in general, when you fix your food, you're going to, help 90% of the population, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Food is medicine. And if you are eating healthy food, I'm watching a movie about Ayurvedic medicine right now, and they talk about the vitality and the life force in food. If you are eating food that is giving your cells life force and vitality, you're going to be better off. If you're eating food that has no life force, no vitality, it's been heated to 180 degrees and dried out and then put in a package and put in a box, there's no life force in there. There's a reason God, Mother Nature, made all this beautiful, wonderful food for us. It has life force for us. It helps us live and be healthy. And so it's very, very important to, like you said, to eat good, healthy foods, whole foods. Again, 90% of the time, 6 days out of the week.
Right. And I think that, if somebody's listening to this and they're having a hard time being like, I don't really want to do that, I want them to consider, some of the analogies around putting something in that's more healthy, right? Like if you've got a race car that really requires premium gasoline, if you put crap gasoline in there, you can, destroy the transmission, right? Or if you love your cats so much and you only want to give them the best cat food, right? Because you notice a difference in them, like you need to be doing that, for yourself, right? But people have a hard time with that because of all this addiction stuff that we've been talking about. Do you have any other excellent analogies, that you like to use in order to kind of describe like the benefits, the pros and cons of putting food in the body?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you said, I love the race car one. You're not going to put crappy gas in a Ferrari, right? You're not going to use the cheapest oil in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a McLaren. I will say one of the things that really actually, before I even started this whole gut health thing years ago, I've always been healthy. Like you read in my bio, I've been an athlete. I'm keenly aware of health and how food plays into it. And if you eat a bunch of crappy food, you feel like crap, you can't perform as well. My wife has horses, and she noticed a long time ago that when she feeds them grain with corn in it, they get super, super hot, like feisty, and really crotchety, and what's the term, like their joints hurt. You can just tell the way they move, their joints hurt. And if you look at what we're eating in America, and that what I thought was it's corn fed soy or corn feed for the horses. Corn is super, super high in omega-6 fatty acids, which is super inflammatory, right? And it's full of sugar as well, and which is again inflammatory. And so that really kind of stuck with me a long time ago. Like, my dogs, we have 2 dogs here. I have a 9-acre ranch here. I raise meat chickens and egg chickens, and we have 27 sheep that we have pastured. And I do what I preach. I live how I preach. I hunt, I eat, I grow grass-fed sheep. But my dogs, we made me think about my dogs because they'd like to chase the sheep sometimes because they're little sons of guns. But we feed them a raw meat diet, and we notice a huge difference as opposed to giving them like processed kibble. And they are so much healthier eating raw meat. We get it from a butcher, and it's awesome. And they are skinny. They have so much energy. They're not all crickety and like moving around kind of like an old man. They're 8, 9 years old and they still run around like puppies. But I totally notice a difference when we feed them straight kibble. I feel bad doing it because I know. And so I think that's a really good analogy. And horses and dogs, they don't lie. They don't know the placebo effect, right? You can't fool them into, hey, this is good for you. They actually are how they are. And so I think that's a really good way to look at it. Trying to think what else another good analogy.
Well, let me ask you another question. So let's transition a little bit to exercise. So what are your typical exercise recommendations? A lot of the people that we work with chronic fatigue, we actually don't really recommend that they have much exercise until they get their energy up to about a 7 out of 10, if they come in at like a 3 or 4 out of 10. But, I guess what are your typical exercise recommendations?
Well, I kind of hate to quote the CDC, but they recommend 150 minutes a week, right? For the average person. And that can be broken into 3 50-minute sessions, 5 30-minute sessions, 10 15-minute sessions. Doesn't really matter. But exercise, I was thinking about this today. And for me, exercise is about the 3 M's. It's about muscle mass, mitochondrial health, and mood. Everybody should exercise. You don't have to do it every day. You should do it most days of the week. One of the things that we're seeing in our society is that people, they may be big, but they don't have muscle mass anymore, right? And when you have, the term sarcopenia, I know the term sarcopenia, but for those of you out there, sarcopenia is the loss of muscle mass and strength. And it's normal as you get older, unless, of course, you're working out. And when I say working out, I don't mean you have to be benching 400 pounds or running, 35 miles, but you should be doing resistance training as you get older. If you're not lifting weights and doing resistance training in your 50s, you're going to be in for a rude awakening when you get older. Sarcopenia has a direct linear correlation with morbidity and mortality. So the more muscle mass and strength you lose as you get older, the higher likelihood it is that you are going to die sooner and be sicker. Because what happens is, and I see this in the hospitals all day long, some old lady doesn't have any muscle mass, falls over, boom, breaks your hip. Back to, 20 years ago, a hip fracture was the beginning of the decline of people's health, and they would die from it. And muscles are one of the greatest organs. It's a metabolic organ. When you are flexing your muscles, they make so many other proteins and byproducts that actually make you healthy. And one of the biggest things I think about exercise is that what's really cool about it is it takes blood sugar out of your blood and puts it right into your muscles without the need of insulin and the GLUT4 transporter. So once you are exercising, that blood sugar goes down because it goes right into your muscles without the need for insulin, which is that's an amazing biohack. And I would tell when I was working in the ER, these little old ladies or these old guys who like, I can't get up and walk around. I say, stand up behind a chair and just bend your knees 5 or 6 times a day. Grab a can of soup in each hand while you're watching, Jerry Springer, and just do this. Doesn't have to be heavy weights, just some weight, just get some muscle movement, some blood going through your muscles. So I mean, exercise is key. I'm an exercise junkie. Obviously, you read my bio. I mean, I'm going to go train jujitsu today for like 2+ hours. And I mean, that's hard. I ride my dirt bike. I was just thinking I got to get my wife and I to go back and get on our road bikes and pedal. She rides horses, 4 or 5 days a week. Exercise is good for muscles. It's good for mitochondria, high intensity interval training. As you know, mitochondria, I'm sure, is a big part of your program, mitochondrial health. When you exercise, it helps your mitochondria be bigger, faster, stronger, just like you when you exercise. And then for mood, it is there have been study after study after study that shows the best antidepressant is exercise. Hands down, beats any drug out there. So
yeah, it's the only thing that comes close to being a panacea or like a universal cure, right? Is exercise. And so people just have to figure out what's going to work for them, right? I mean, do you care what it looks like or what kind of exercise, or you just want people moving?
I just want people moving. I tell people, go for a walk. Okay, if you can't walk very far, go for a walk around the block. If you can't get all the way around the block, go halfway down the block, come back. Do that 4 or 5 times. Maybe the next time you'll be able to go all the way around the block. And even walking itself is one of the best exercises you can ever do. I also tell people, okay, park as far away from the grocery store as you can. Walk further into the store. If you have the ability to take stairs instead of the elevator, take the stairs. I'm kind of a kook. I will take 8 flights of stairs at the hospital or in a big building. My wife is too. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, let's take the elevator. She's like, nope, we're going up the stairs. I'm like, damn it. But I mean, you have to make the choices today, or you're going to pay for the repercussions in the future. Right. And that's true. I don't know if you know who Jocko Willink is. He's he's a former Navy SEAL. He was a real badass guy, but he's got his saying is discipline equals freedom, right? If you have the discipline to take the stairs, you're going to have the freedom from being obese. If you have the discipline not to smoke cigarettes, you're going to have the freedom to not have, emphysema, things like that. And that is really, really important. And it's something that people need to really embrace, that discipline equals freedom. I don't do these things because I want to all the time. I do them because I know I need to. And I have the discipline to say, okay, I'm going to do that today. I'm not perfect. I'm far, far, far from perfect. Although I guarantee my wife would tell you, I think I'm perfect, but I'm not. And I know it. And so, and this is, one last thing I want to talk about is you have to have empathy and compassion for yourself. Okay. I'm really hard on myself. That's not good. But I also have a high standard, but I'm also learning more empathy and more compassion for myself. And so when we're talking about, like, if someone doesn't exercise, they get all down. Oh, I suck. I'm terrible. I'm a loser. Don't be like that. Just say, okay, I didn't do it today. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And I would say the same thing with my clients. They got on one of my group calls. They're like, oh, I had 2 pieces of cake yesterday. I said, don't beat yourself up. Move on. Say, it's okay. I screwed up. I'm going to go forward. And that also plays into the whole idea of having compassion and empathy for yourself in preparing yourself for getting older. Like you want to treat your body like it's a temple, because if you don't, you're going to pay for it, And so I like I said, I've grown a lot in the last couple of years, and that's one of the biggest things I'm trying to be more, empathetic and compassionate to people, but also to myself. And I think that's very important to people, because sadly, we've come to the point in society where everyone's beating themselves up, and our mental health is taking a big hit lately. And so, it's important to love yourself. It's important to have conviction to yourself to stay healthy and be healthy. And, one of the things in my webinar is like, one of the patients I had, I felt bad because, every time he came into the hospital sicker and sicker and sicker, his family was being robbed of him. He eventually is going to die way too soon. And, he can't be there for his family. And so it's important that you treat your body like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, because these human bodies are absolutely spectacular.
Yeah. And I think that we're talking about food today and we're talking about exercise, but what we're really talking about so much of is behavioral health and mindset and these things, the emotional stuff that we really have to work on in order to be able to make these changes in our lives so that we can feel better. So it is that combination of making those actual practical changes in food and exercise, but then it's also the emotional stuff and the mindset that plays such a big role.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, health is multifactorial. It's not one thing. It's
Right.
not just one lever. There's 100 different levers to pull in health, and there's mental health, physical health are better earners, right? Healthier people make better communities. They make better brothers, mothers, fathers, sisters, employees, neighbors, and healthier people make more money. They just do. It's statistically proven. And
Mhm.
so it's very important for you out there listening to really like take a step back and look at yourself and be like, am I treating myself as well as I should? And that's important. And if you're not, maybe figure out why. You know, maybe if something bad happened to you as a child, maybe you don't like parts of yourself, but we're all human and we're all in this together. And you know, there's a lot of people out there to get help if you're struggling, so
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, let's talk about what you're offering these days. What do your programs look like?
I have two programs. One is a 4-week DIY course. It's all learning modules, and then it's 4 weeks of learning modules dripped to your house, so you can do it all on your own time. And then there's a discount code that comes along with that for supplies, for supplements. Then my big cream of the crop program is a 12-week program where I send them 144 meals. They're all, paleo, grass-fed, free range meals. I send supplements for 3 months worth, so you don't have to figure anything out. I send a detox kit, and I send fasting supplies, because I also have people do detoxing and fasting on the same day, and they do bone broth fasting. And then they get, again, like my 4-week course, it's a learning modules drip every week. So you got to go through those. And I ask my clients, please make sure you learn, because the more you know, the more likely it is that you'll be successful, right? Educated people make better choices. And then there's a group coaching call, and it's a 12-week program. And then I've also got an ebook that I'm selling right now called The Hidden Assassins in the Standard American Diet. Exposed for your protection, because like we've talked about, you and I both know that the standard American diet is absolutely toxic, and it's sad, and it's, again, educated people make better choices. If you know what's in it and why it's harming you, you're less likely to continue eating it. So
Absolutely. And so then, what's the best website or where do you want people to find you online?
www.empowermentmd.com. That's my website, and you can find everything on there. It's going to be changing, like you. I'm rebranding, and I've got a couple of new landing pages coming out, and so kind of in flux right now. But it's all about to be like top notch awesomeness. So I'm really excited about it. I'm super excited, and again, you inspire me, Evan. You really inspire me to continue going on the path that I know is right. And so thank you again. And thank you for having me. This is really fun. I'd love to do this again sometime. And so I think you and I could sit and chat for weeks.
I agree. Yeah, this was excellent. I really appreciate you dropping this knowledge and making it really practical for our folks. We're going to drop the link to your website, and we definitely encourage people to go and check you out. So
And then
thanks so
I've
much for
also
being
got
here. Yeah,
another link I'll send you when we're done, where people can get a free ebook, the 10 top foods for gut health. You just got to put an email in there, and I'll deliver it right to your email. And it's awesome. It's real quick and easy to read, but it's, again, education. Gut health is important. It's one of the most important things that we can do. So if you get this ebook for free, read through it and be like, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. If you do those 3 things or whatever, or 4 or 5 or 6, you're going to be healthier. And it's totally free and it's fun, and you can share it with everybody you love. And that's another thing I'm really working on, is like, I want people to get healthy, and I wanted a ripple effect. I want like the mom to get healthy and then share it with her children and then her grandchildren, right?
That's big.
That's what we got to do. And that's what you and I are both on the path, man. We're on a mission to help people. So again, you're awesome, dude.
Amen. Likewise.
So,
all right. Thanks, Dr. Rob, so much for coming on today, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care.
I hope you learned something on today's podcast. If you did, please share it with your friends and family and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It's really helpful for getting this information out to more people who desperately need it. Sharing all the experts I know and love and the powerful tips I have is one of my absolute favorite things to do. Thanks for being part of my community. Just a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. It is provided with the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. Thanks for listening, and have an amazing day.